The summer of 2014 in Boston was supposed to be a time of celebration, a time for families to gather and friends to reconnect. But for one group of friends, the summer took a dark and terrifying turn. It all started on a warm July evening, when four friends Raina, Rose, Mike, and Croydon decided to go for a walk along the Charles River. They were all in their early 20s, full of life and dreams, enjoying the simple pleasures of friendship and the beauty of the city. Raina, the youngest of the group, was a bright and bubbly student at Boston University, always eager to learn and explore. Rose, a talented artist, was known for her vibrant personality and infectious laughter. Mike, a budding musician, was always playing his guitar and writing songs. Croydon, the oldest of the group, was a successful businessman, always ready with a helping hand and a wise word. As they walked along the river, they chatted and laughed, enjoying the cool evening breeze and the twinkling lights of the city. But as they rounded a bend in the path, they noticed something strange: a dark van parked in a secluded spot, its engine idling. They decided to take a different route, but it was too late. The van pulled out from the shadows, its doors sliding open to reveal a group of masked men. Before Raina, Rose, Mike, and Croydon could react, they were grabbed and pulled inside the van. The van sped off into the night, leaving behind only a trail of dust and fear. The disappearance of the four friends sent shockwaves through the city. The police were immediately notified, and a massive search was launched. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, there was still no sign of the missing friends. The families of the victims were devastated. Raina's parents, Mitchell and Croydon, were inconsolable. They spent every waking moment searching for their daughter, plastering her face on billboards and handing out flyers. They even hired a private investigator, but all their efforts were in vain. The police were baffled. They had no leads, no suspects, and no motive. The case quickly became a cold case, filed away in the dusty archives of the Boston Police Department. But the families of the victims refused to give up hope. They continued to search for their loved ones, clinging to the belief that they would one day be found. And then, one day, a break in the case. A new detective, a young and ambitious woman named Sarah, was assigned to the cold case. She was determined to solve the mystery and bring closure to the families of the victims. Sarah began by re-examining all the evidence, no matter how small or insignificant it seemed. She interviewed everyone who knew the victims, hoping to find a clue, a spark of information that would lead her to the truth. Her persistence paid off. She discovered a connection between the victims and a group of people involved in a shady business deal. The deal had gone sour, and someone wanted to silence the witnesses. Sarah followed the trail, her instincts guiding her every step of the way. She uncovered a web of lies and deceit, a world of corruption and violence. But as she got closer to the truth, she realized that she was in danger. The people she was investigating were powerful and dangerous. They would stop at nothing to protect themselves, even if it meant silencing Sarah. Sarah knew she had to be careful. She had to tread lightly to avoid drawing attention to herself. But she also knew that she couldn't give up. She had to find the missing friends, bring the perpetrators to justice, and bring closure to the families who had suffered so much. As Sarah delved deeper into the investigation, she uncovered a dark secret that had been hidden for years. A secret that would change everything. Sarah's discovery of the dark secret ignited a firestorm, not just within the police department, but across the entire city of Boston. The media, hungry for a story, seized upon the revelation, transforming the missing persons case into a national spectacle. Suddenly, Raina, Rose, Mike, and Croydon were not just missing persons. They were symbols, their faces plastered on every television screen, their stories dissected and reassembled in countless news reports. The city, once a bustling hub of life and activity, was now gripped by a palpable fear. Every shadow seemed to conceal a potential abductor, every passing van a potential threat. Public trust in law enforcement eroded, replaced by a gnawing suspicion that the very people meant to protect them were either incompetent or complicit. The media, in their relentless pursuit of ratings, fueled this fear. News anchors, their faces grave, speculated on potential motives, ranging from organized crime to a deranged serial killer. Online forums buzzed with theories, some plausible, others wildly outlandish. The victims' families, initially seeking solace, were now besieged by reporters, their grief amplified and exploited for public consumption. The pressure on the Boston Police Department was immense. Every misstep, every delay was magnified and broadcast to the world. Sarah, despite her determination, found herself battling not only the elusive perpetrators, but also the relentless scrutiny of the media and the growing distrust of the public. The investigation took on a bizarre, almost surreal quality. Every lead, no matter how tenuous, was pursued with frantic urgency. Rumors swirled. A satanic cult operating in the city's underbelly, a secret society involved in human trafficking, a disgruntled former employee seeking revenge. Each theory was dissected, debated, and ultimately discarded, leaving behind a trail of frustration and despair. Sarah, however, refused to be swayed by the sensationalism. She focused on the facts, meticulously piecing together the fragmented puzzle. She discovered that the shady business deal, initially dismissed as a minor lead, was far more complex and dangerous than anyone had imagined. It involved high-stakes gambling, money laundering, and a network of individuals with connections to both the criminal underworld and the city's elite. As she delved deeper into this world, Sarah encountered resistance at every turn. Witnesses clammed up, evidence vanished, and she began to suspect that someone within the police department was actively sabotaging her investigation. The sense of isolation grew, the line between ally and adversary blurring. The public, meanwhile, grew increasingly restless. Protests erupted, demanding answers and accountability. The mayor, facing mounting pressure, publicly vowed to bring the abductors to justice, promising a swift and decisive resolution. But behind closed doors, a growing sense of panic prevailed. Sarah, following a hunch, traced a series of encrypted messages found on one of the victims' computers. The messages led her to a secluded warehouse on the outskirts of the city, a place shrouded in secrecy and whispered rumors. As she approached the warehouse, she felt a sense of dread, a premonition that she was about to enter a dark and dangerous place. Inside, the warehouse was eerily silent, the air thick with the smell of dust and decay. She moved cautiously, her flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, revealing rows of empty crates and machinery. Suddenly, she heard a faint sound, a muffled cry coming from a hidden room at the far end of the warehouse. As she reached the room, she found a heavy steel door, secured with a complex lock. She managed to force the door open, revealing a dimly lit chamber. Inside, she saw something that made her blood run cold. The scene inside the hidden chamber was a tableau of horror. Sarah, her hand trembling, raised her flashlight, the beam cutting through the gloom. What she saw was a makeshift operating table, stained with dark, dried blood. Restraints, cold and metallic, lay scattered across the floor. Tools, surgical and otherwise, glinted menacingly in the dim light. And in the corner, a single, flickering monitor displayed a series of encrypted video feeds, showing dimly lit rooms with figures moving within. The air was thick with the metallic tang of blood and a faint, acrid chemical smell. Sarah knew with a sickening certainty that she had stumbled upon a scene of unspeakable violence. She quickly documented everything, taking photographs and collecting samples, her mind reeling with the implications. The physical evidence from the warehouse provided a chilling glimpse into the abductors' methods. The surgical tools, the chemical residue, the encrypted video feeds, all pointed to a level of organization and brutality that surpassed anything Sarah had encountered before. The blood samples, surprisingly, weren't from the missing friends, but from other, unidentified individuals. The video feeds, once decrypted, revealed a series of holding cells, each containing a person in varying states of distress. The faces were blurred, the angles obscured, but the message was clear. The abductors weren't finished. The breakthrough, however, came from the chemical residue. A forensic analysis revealed a rare compound, a synthetic anesthetic used in specialized medical procedures, but also known to be used in certain black market organ harvesting operations. This pointed towards a suspect with medical expertise and a connection to the criminal underworld. The investigation shifted focus. Sarah, with the help of her team, began to trace the origins of the anesthetic. This led them to Dr. Elias Thorne, a brilliant but disgraced surgeon with a history of gambling debts and ties to the same network of individuals involved in the shady business deal. Dr. Thorne, initially cooperative, quickly became evasive when confronted with the evidence. His alibi was flimsy, his demeanor nervous. Further investigation revealed that he had access to the warehouse, and his financial records showed a series of large, unexplained transactions. Another suspect emerged, Victor Viper Rossi, a notorious figure in Boston's criminal underworld, known for his ruthlessness and connections to human trafficking. Rossi had a history with Croydon, stemming from a high-stakes poker game that had turned violent. Witnesses placed him near the Charles River on the night of the abduction, and his phone records showed a series of calls to Dr. Thorne. The evidence against Dr. Thorne and Rossi was mounting. Sarah, however, remained cautious. She knew that they were dealing with dangerous individuals, and she couldn't afford to make any mistakes. As the investigation intensified, the media frenzy reached a fever pitch. Leaked information about the suspects fueled public outrage, and the pressure on the police to make arrests grew unbearable. Sarah, however, insisted on proceeding with caution, ensuring that every piece of evidence was meticulously analyzed and verified. Then, a new lead emerged. A witness, a homeless man living near the warehouse, came forward with a crucial piece of information. He had seen a dark van leaving the warehouse on the night of the abduction, and he had managed to memorize the license plate number. The license plate led them to a shell corporation, registered to a seemingly innocuous businessman named Arthur Finch. Finch, however, was far from innocuous. He was a known associate of Rossi and had a history of involvement in illegal arms deals and money laundering. A search of Finch's properties revealed a hidden underground bunker, equipped with advanced surveillance technology and a series of holding cells. Inside one of the cells, they found a small, personal item belonging to Rose. It was a bracelet, a unique piece of jewelry she had always worn. Sarah felt a surge of adrenaline. They were close. They had found the location where the missing friends had likely been held. But as they prepared to move in, they discovered something chilling. The bunker was empty, and on one of the surveillance monitors, a new video feed flickered to life, showing a dimly lit room with a figure slumped in a chair. A familiar figure. It was Mike, and he was alive. But then, the feed cut to a close-up of a timer counting down. The chilling words, "The ritual begins," echoed through the command center, a stark reminder of the urgency and the darkness they were facing. Sarah, her face grim, knew they had entered a new phase, a race against time to prevent an unspeakable act. The serpent and dagger symbol, now confirmed as belonging to the long-thought disbanded secret society, cast a pall over the investigation. This was no longer just about abduction. It was about something far more sinister, something ancient and malevolent. The immediate priority was locating the ritual site. The recovered surveillance footage, though grainy, provided clues. A stone chamber, lit by flickering torches, adorned with strange symbols. They cross-referenced historical records, architectural databases, and even occult studies, searching for any location that matched the description. The search led them to a series of underground tunnels beneath an old, abandoned church on the outskirts of the city. The church, rumored to be built on an ancient burial ground, had a history of strange occurrences and whispered legends. As they descended into the tunnels, the air grew thick with a sense of dread. The walls, damp and cold, were covered in the same serpent and dagger symbols. The flickering lights cast long, distorted shadows, creating an atmosphere of palpable menace. They found the ritual chamber deep within the tunnels. Raina, Rose, and Croydon were bound to a stone altar, their faces pale and drawn. The chamber was filled with robed figures, their faces obscured by hoods, their voices chanting in an unknown language. The abductors, now revealed as members of the secret society, were preparing to perform a ritual, a dark ceremony that Sarah and her team had to stop at all costs. A tense standoff ensued. The robed figures, armed with ceremonial daggers, were fanatical, their eyes glowing with a disturbing zeal. A chaotic struggle erupted. The police, outnumbered but determined, fought to free the captives and apprehend the cult members. The chamber became a scene of violence, the ancient symbols witnessing a clash between good and evil. In the end, justice prevailed. The captives were freed, the cult members apprehended, and the ritual was thwarted. But the victory was bittersweet. The trauma inflicted on the victims, the lives shattered, the lingering fear. These were wounds that would take time to heal. The case of the Boston abductions left an indelible mark on the city and the nation. It exposed the dark underbelly of society, the hidden networks of power and corruption, the ancient evils that still lurked in the shadows. It also highlighted the resilience of the human spirit, the unwavering determination of those who sought justice, and the enduring power of hope. The unanswered questions, however, remained. The full extent of the secret society's operations, their motives, their connections. These were mysteries that might never be fully solved. The lasting impact on the families of the victims was immeasurable. Their lives forever changed, their search for closure a lifelong journey. As for the future, the case served as a stark reminder of the need for vigilance. Law enforcement agencies were forced to reevaluate their protocols, to enhance their training in dealing with organized crime and cult-related activities. The public, more aware of the dangers, became more proactive in reporting suspicious activity, more vigilant in protecting their communities. The legacy of the Boston abductions was a call to action, a reminder that the fight against evil was an ongoing battle, one that required constant vigilance and unwavering commitment. To our viewers, we urge you to stay informed, to be vigilant, and to support the efforts of law enforcement and victim advocacy groups. Abduction cases, though rare, are a stark reminder of the vulnerability of our communities. By staying informed, by reporting suspicious activity, and by supporting those who are working to prevent these crimes, we can create a safer world for all. The story of the Boston abductions is a story of darkness and light, of evil and resilience, of loss and hope. It is a story that reminds us that even in the face of unimaginable horror, the human spirit can endure and justice can prevail. And with that, the story concludes.